To the German Super Touring Car Championship with Hasseröder Premium Pills.
Welcome to Zweibrucken, the venue for round 7 of the Super Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, Germany's 2-litre touring car championship. You're live on Eurosport. I'm Martin Haven. Well, as you can see, the airfield circuit close to the French border, which has proved such a happy hunting ground for Peugeot driver Laurent Aiello in the past 2 seasons, is already a sweltering expanse of shimmering tarmac and concrete. And here, tyre and driver fatigue are likely to play a part, both in this morning's 18-lap sprint and equally in this afternoon's 36-lap 100-kilometre main event. Ambient temperatures nudging 30 degrees and a track temperature into the low 40s for Friday's free practice set the picture for teams and drivers. They had a taste of what was to come, and the Sahara-like conditions continued into Saturday's qualifying runs. Air temperatures around 28 degrees and track temperatures a mere 42. That's over 80 degrees Fahrenheit in old money. Well, the track temperatures were hot, and so too was the track action. The top 6 drivers in qualifying covered by less than 0.05 of a second. That's right, not 0.5, but 0.048, less than 0.05 covering the top 6 drivers. With championship rivals Laurent Aiello and Johnny Cecotto starting alongside each other on row 3, this could be a chance for Cecotto to further extend his championship lead. His BMW's tyres are likely to be fresher towards the end of the sprint and the race than those of his front drive rivals, who tend to burn their rubber in extreme heat conditions. He and fourth place surprise starter Joachim Winkelhock may well feature very strongly here. But qualifying was all about Opel. 1, 2 and 3 on the grid for the German marque, and they were thoroughly delighted. Manuel Reuter starts on the front row of the grid with Uwe Alsen alongside him. And then in the final seconds, Gabriele Tarquini launched himself up onto row 2. He does start alongside Joachim Winkelhock in the BMW Championship. Title holder Laurent Aiello is 5th, with current championship points leader Johnny Cecotto in 6th place. The cars are on the grid, as you can see. It's being cleared. When we come back live in just a moment here on Eurosport, we'll be on the warm-up lap. Stay with us. 1,300 Peugeot fans here, brought in specially by the manufacturers to this Zweibrucken circuit. You're watching the start of the warm-up lap live here on Eurosport for round 7 of the Super Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, Germany's 2-litre touring car championship, and things couldn't be tighter. The cars on the front 2 positions on the grid, the 2 Opel Vectras, expected to be the quickest cars in the race here. Manuel Reuter and Uwe Alsen. Reuter taking his second pole of the year, Opel's 4th in a row. Joe Winkelhock astonished the field and perhaps himself with 3rd, where the high downforce BMWs weren't expected to feature well. And the championship contenders alongside each other on row 3. Michael Krum held pole for a long while in the Nissan. Jörg van Ommen putting in his time a little too early at the end of the session. Roland Asch and Tom Christensen again reinforcing the speed of Nissan and Honda on this all-power track. And a great run too from the front drive Audis, road 5 of the grid for Pirot and Abt. Michel Bartels, yes, there is a 3rd works Peugeot for the rest of the season, and he has it. He drove for Opel last year. Alexander Burgstaller did just 3 laps in qualifying. He said it's much more important to keep your tyres for the race. Eric Ellery disappointed after a drive shaft broke after his first flying lap to be only 18th on the grid. Ellery with a shaved head this weekend as a result of a bet amongst some of the French drivers, including his best buddy Laurent Aiello. Unfortunately, nobody will actually give us what the terms of the bet were. We have to therefore rather assume the worst, I'm afraid. Well, Manuel Reuter is there. Joachim Winkelhock is there. Gabriele Tarquini is there, so too are Laurent Aiello and Johnny Cecotto, and there going through into the picture is Uwe Alsen. I wondered where the number 4 Opel had gone when we were coming down the front straight. Alsen now working his way back up the field on this warm-up lap. Now, without my German touring car regulations in front of me, and I don't have them with me, I'm afraid, I can't tell you whether that is legal or not. If he got the car push-started or bump-started before the rest of the field had got away on the warm-up lap, maybe that will be okay. But certainly as they headed off down over the starting grid for the first time, there was no sign of the number 4 Opel Vectra. Well, we remain a little bit, or I do at least, uncertain as to whether he will be allowed to assume his grid position. The fact that he's working his way up the field now means that he is going to assume it. Whether or not that is within the regulations will remain to be seen. Roland Brunsereiter will be the starting man here. He is the official race director for this Super Tourenwagen Meisterschaft. So, pole to the left-hand side of the grid, Manuel Reuter. To the right is Uwe Altzen. Then behind the pole man is Joachim Winkelhock. Expect him to lead into the first corner. Manuel Reuter is on pole for round 7 of the Super Tourenwagen Meisterschaft, Germany's 2-litre touring car championship. This is the start of the sprint here at Zweibrucken, and it could be a very, very pivotal race for the championship. Contenders in the series, Laurent Aiello, the first yellow car on the left-hand column, and Johnny Cecotto, the third car back on the right-hand column, both starting from the front 3 rows. They're on row 3, but ahead of them, teammate Joe Winkelhock on the second row of the grid, Gabriele Tarquini in the Honda, and the 2 Opels of Reuter the poleman to the left and Uwe Altzen to the right. The BMWs always make good starts, and away goes Winkelhock. It's vital that the Opels try and shut him out into the first corner. It's a real long drag race, and Winkelhock's won it again. Cecotto, I was predicting a moment or two ago to a colleague, will be in 3rd place at the first corner, and there he goes. No, Reuter may hold him off, but look at this, coming down the inside. Gabriele Tarquini now, and Cecotto's been swamped. So Cecotto is ahead of Laurent Aiello, and the 2 Peugeots of Jörg van Ommen and Michel Bartels there in the middle of the pack. Bartels making contact, it looks like, with Tommy Christensen. No, it was one of the other cars. It wasn't Christensen's Honda, I don't think, running wide on the grass. Yes, it was. It was Tom Christensen, and he's picked up a flat tyre, so Christensen already out of it. Well, tyre trouble of not that kind is to be expected later in the race from the front-wheel drive cars, but Christensen nudged there out onto the grass, and Cecotto is in trouble further down the field. Look, he's been bundled all the way down the order. Winkelhock leads from Altzen, from Tarquini. And Johnny Cecotto well down the order. What can Joe Winkelhock do? Well, he can lead. He can take winning points away from Aiello if possible. But where is Cecotto? There he goes. In fact, it wasn't Johnny Cecotto I was spotting dropping down the order a little. There he is. He's right behind Gabriele Tarquini, and right behind him is Laurent Aiello. Across the line, Winkelhock by 0.6 of a second from Altzen, Tarquini, Cecotto, Aiello, and it was Manuel Reuter who was further down the order. We ride again as you see Tom Christensen getting into trouble. Michel Bartels in the 3rd Works Peugeot, pushing him through the corner. Get out of the way, says Bartels. He really wants to get in there along with Jörg van Ommen to help his team leader, Laurent Aiello. Well, there was already another yellow car in the pits there. That can't possibly have been Laurent Aiello, because there he is. Aiello with the red writing on the windscreen, ahead of Reuter, then Christian Menzel in the BMW, and Menzel may be useful for Johnny Cecotto here. If he can leapfrog 2 positions up the order and get ahead of Laurent Aiello, then he will rob the Frenchman of points, and that will be of great use indeed to Johnny Cecotto. Cecotto, I remind you, the championship points leader, coming here from Laurent Aiello by 45 points, and against the odds at the high-speed airfield circuit of Wunstorf last time out, Cecotto didn't lose his championship lead, he actually extended it. It is Jörg van Ommen also involved there. We saw him getting thumped by by Christensen's Honda at the back of the car, and that coming together between the 2 of them has left Laurent Aiello a little vulnerable, because further 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places back down the order is his only remaining teammate in this race, and it's this man, Michel Bartels, and he is behind the Audis, and as you can see there, the brake lights coming on the TV Spiel film Alfa Romeo, that's Stefano Modena. Now, onto the back straight, weaving here as Abt tries to break the toe to Modena. Modena's late on the brakes, very fast into this section. Very, very heavy braking and down 3 gears here for the right-hander. And then the left-hander, and Modena is going for the inside line. There's no room, and Abt has better acceleration than the Alfa there, and so does Bartels. Bartels tested for the team earlier this year. He's now in the third car all season. Modena dives to the inside. Doesn't work. Down they drop off the runway onto this little link section. They turn right here, and Modena's at the curb. There's no way through for Bartels. This is great onboard vision here as Joe Winkelhock leads them across the line. He's now 0.7 seconds ahead. We're looking there at Christian Abt in 9th, Modena 10th, Bartels 11th, Bergstaller behind Eric Ellery now. Eric Ellery in the TNT Opel Vectra is really flying. He was so disappointed to be out of the qualifying yesterday with that broken drive shaft. Now look at Bartels. Bartels and the Peugeot, not as quick in a straight line, obviously, as the Alfa there, and almost losing his place to Eric Ellery. Ellery drops back under braking. He wasn't on the right line. Another little dab of the brakes from Stefano Modena, and yet still they run out wide and almost kick up the dirt. It's a very, very tempting corner, that second left-hander, to keep going through flat, but if you do, it's a very fast accident on the outside. We saw Gabriele Tarquini going off at very high speed at a similar flat-out right-hander at Wunstorf 2 weeks ago. You do not want to go off on the outside of the second left-hand corner here, believe you me. They're doing well over 160 kilometers an hour through the corner, well over 100 mile an hour corner, that is, and to go off there, it's going to be a long while before your vision returns to normal. Michel Bartels then continuing here in 11th place. But Joe Winkelhock leads. Now his lead is being brought down. Uwe Altzen is now just 0.55 of a second behind in second place. Gabriele Tarquini is still third. Johnny Cecotto fourth, and fastest lap of the race so far by him, 108.300. The man ahead of him, Tarquini, doing 108.241. He is the quickest man on the circuit at the moment. So there is Tom Christensen back into the pits once more, and he really must be out of the running now. So Tarquini third, Cecotto fourth, behind Winkelhock and Altzen. We're looking back now from Michel Bartels at Eric Ellery. In fifth place is the other Peugeot, that of Laurent Aiello. And Bartels now pushing Stefano Modena through the corners. He really can go quicker if only he can get past. There is Aiello. He's got Manuel Reuter behind him in sixth. Still Christian Menzel in seventh and Roland Asch in eighth. That is the lead group. There is Menzel, there is Asch. Asch trail braking all the way through that section. The Nissan very strong here, as it is in the British Touring Car Championship. The Nissan Primera is very much a force to be reckoned with. So the lead 8 breaking away, and fastest lap of the race again goes to Johnny Cecotto. First man down into the 107s though, 107.929. Cecotto now in third place ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. Now Tarquini and teammate Tom Christensen used each other to slipstream around this circuit. The way it works is you come out of the final corner behind your teammate, you both go like the clappers down the main straight, and then when your teammate's toe has pulled you up to maximum speed, you dive out of it as he pulls offline into the first corner, and you go along the straight some 5 or 6 kilometers an hour quicker than you would otherwise have done. Tarquini though was not passed by Cecotto. It's now very evident Tarquini lost his place. He's just lost his place to Aiello as well, and that means that Tarquini is in trouble. But look at this, it's Uwe Altzen in the Opel, that he is right in the middle of a BMW sandwich. Cecotto wants by, and he wants by urgently. If he can get past Uwe Altzen, and he may do it here because the Opel is the quickest car in a straight line, but he is towing along Cecotto as if he was attached by a tow rope. Cecotto will not lose too much time, and he has better downforce. He's got better cornering grip, and he may yet make a move. Now look at the way that Altzen has opened up a lead there on the straight, but Cecotto will come right back at him here and in the second left-hander, where the low downforce spec of the Opel may not be to Uwe Altzen's advantage. And on the back section, Johnny Cecotto will try and make a move, because he's seen, as Joe Winkelhock has, if you can get ahead of an Opel, you can probably stay there. The BMWs are the cars with the highest downforce aero package this season, and these airfield circuits shouldn't really suit them, but they do start so well. When they launch off the line, all the weight goes over the driven wheels and minimises the wheel spin. In the front-wheel drive cars, of course, the front wheels come up off the deck effectively as all the weight shifts back, and they're left scrabbling for grip. And here, as the heat builds, and as we look back from Uwe Alsen, Johnny Cecotto does go inside, and he's got him. And Winkelhock will help him box him in. It's side by side. Cecotto is on the inside. Now Alsen has the speed in a straight line. This is a fantastic example of just how quick the cars are here. But look at this. BMW, the high downforce package, is not losing a millimetre to Uwe Alsen. And Cecotto has the inside line out of the last corner. He leads. Now that is great racing by Johnny Cecotto. He knew where he could get past, he chose his place, and he went for it. So now it's BMW's 1 and 2. Joe Winkelhock leads championship leader Johnny Cecotto. Uwe Alsen third for Opel. In fourth place, Laurent Aiello, the reigning champion, currently second in the championship standings. But what does this mean? Well, this now means that Joe Winkelhock and Johnny Cecotto can swap places. And once Cecotto is in the lead, Joe Winkelhock will be driving the widest BMW anyone has ever seen since Johnny Cecotto's car became a very wide BMW towards the end of last season. Obviously, there are no team orders. The drivers are not being directed from the pit wall or by the pit wall, but perhaps Joe Winkelhock will have chosen a tyre setup that, dare we say it, may not be quite so effective in the latter stages as that of Johnny Cecotto, and he may possibly find himself being overtaken for the lead by his teammate. Obviously, there will be no team orders involved because that's not allowed, as we see Christian Menzel being put under pressure and succumbing to it. Roland Asch goes by him and into 7th place. So too did Christian Abt, Michel Bartels and Eric Ellery, Krum, Modena and Burgstaller, as Menzel dropped from 7th to 14th as a result of that spin. There he is on the tail of this group now. This is Michel Bartels. Look at the front damage to Christian Abt's car. I want to see the back of whoever he's hit, because if you can damage an Audi like that, you must have almost written off the other car. Christian Abt then, he may well have been involved in that first corner incident. We saw the tail end of the Toyota of Tom Christensen heavily damaged. We also saw Jörg van Ommen on the pit wall a few minutes ago because he was out of the race in that first corner incident that also involved the Honda of Tom Christensen. It may well have involved Christian Abt's Audi as well. Incidentally, the Audi of Frank Bieler that was rolled into oblivion. I'm not quite sure what the German for a ball of snot is, but I'm sure that was the phrase they used at the last race at Wunstorf, has been completely written off, and the team have spent 8 days at Ingolstadt building up a brand new chassis for Frank Bieler so as not to lose any championship points. Dented front end to Eric Ellery's Opel. He won't care about that too much because the splitter and the spoilers are still there. The bonnet may look a little in need of some T-cut work, but he's got past Christian Abt anyway, so Ellery is now up into 9th place, and from 18th on the grid, that has all been as a result of fighting aggression. Oh, look at that, Michel Krum opposite locking there. A Scandinavian flick under braking to go past Christian Abt, perhaps not quite with the flamboyance of the Vatanen, but certainly well beyond the limits of how the Nissan Primera wanted to slow down there. A very dented front end to Stefano Modna's car as Christian Abt has to deftly apply the opposite as well, but he's got a broken steering arm. And that's why the car is crabbing all over the road. Well, that little impact there, the little nudge from Stefano Modena as he went down the inside, broke the steering arm. You can see the left rear wheel there is towing in by about 40 degrees, and Christian Abt is steering with the 2 front wheels, and the car is being steered independently by the rear wheel. Now, Eric Ellery versus Michel Bartels. Ellery not in this series last year. He did 1 race for BMW. Bartels not in this series this year. He raced for Opel. Here we go again. Modena in the inside. Bing hits the car. Steering arm snaps. Or tie rod arm snaps rather, of course, because they don't have 4-wheel steer. But there it is, flapping around, and well held indeed by Christian Abt. He's got a future on the stages as well as Michel Krum. Interesting to see some of these drivers in a rally sprint. There is Krum, there is Ellery, and there is Michel Bartels. And this is the battle for 8th place. Don't forget, manufacturers' points here vital as well. BMW leading the manufacturers' standings from Peugeot. But the way Opel are going, they could well figure in this one. Cecotto, headed by Winkelhock. Welcome back live here to Zweibrucken. You're seeing now the battle continuing between Michel Bartels and Eric Ellery for what is 9th place. Ellery in the Opel, the orange and white car, looking down the inside between the first and second corners. Now he makes the move, under braking, a tiny dab of the brakes into the second left-hander, this very high-speed corner. In they go. Contact, you can see the tyre smoke, and you can almost imagine the screeching as the Peugeot gets alongside and then completely broadside and gets a further nudge out of the way. That's insult to injury. But look at this. 2 laps ago they were 1.1 seconds apart. 1 lap ago they were 0.2 seconds apart. Now they are 0.3 seconds apart. Johnny Cecotto in second place, Joachim Winkelhock in the lead, and the BMW's running away with this one against all runner form and all expectations. We saw a board being held up there for a stop-and-go penalty for somebody. Not, I'm afraid, visible from our camera angle was the number that was on that board or being held out with that board. Uwe Alsen, car number 4, the third place man, a stop-and-go penalty. Well, that can only be for either a jump start, which I don't think he had, or for assuming the grid position at the start of the race that he shouldn't have, because he did not get going with the rest of them. Now, Joe Winkelhock under pressure. Johnny Cecotto has been the quickest man on the circuit. He is at the moment the quickest man on the circuit as well. Joe Winkelhock, 108.749 last time round. In fact, Johnny Cecotto, 108.826 last time round, but he pulled in over a second in the last 2 laps. The indicators are on. Here is the move. Stop and go for Uwe Alsen in third place. That's bad news for Cecotto. Now he has to get past Winkelhock. He's being towed down the straight now, just 0.24 behind he was last time over the line. And he's being towed down the straight by his teammate. Cleanly through into the lead then. Cecotto, championship points leader, leading the first race here, the sprint at Zweibrucken. Brake lights on Joe Winkelhock's car. He does not want to tap his Schnitzer BMW teammate up the backside. Thank you so much. Third place, Uwe Alsen, but you can certainly forget about that. The Opel team will be very disappointed. Now their highest running representative, Manuel Reuter, 6.2 seconds behind in 6th place, which will become 5th. And then behind him, Eric Ellery, 19.5 seconds behind in 9th, which will become 8th. Alsen now has seen the stop-and-go board twice. He must come in another lap, otherwise he will be excluded. But look at that, again into the 107s, and that is courtesy of that tow down the straight from Joe Winkelhock. Johnny Cecotto leading, Joe Winkelhock second. Uwe Alsen about to be disqualified if he doesn't come in after this next lap. And then in effectively third place is Laurent Toyello. It'll be 4th for Tarquini, 5th for Reuter and 6th for Ash. And these are the only men fighting for the top half dozen positions. So this race of very changeable fortune here. Now, we've been hearing all weekend how Opel are the quickest cars in the straight line, and they are. It's absolutely undeniable. Through the speed traps, they are going quicker than anything else. Alsen and Reuter have been quicker than anybody else. However, we saw earlier on in this race, very graphically, as Johnny Cecotto pulled out of the final turn alongside Uwe Alsen. Alsen didn't get good drive, admittedly. Cecotto got alongside him, but then for the entire mile-long straight down the runway, Johnny Cecotto sat there, door to door, wing mirror to wing mirror, nose to nose with Uwe Alsen, and Alsen could not gain back a millimetre. This is the quickest car, we've been told, all weekend in a straight line, the Opel Vectra, and still the BMW was not losing a fraction to him, absolutely side by side. So quite what's going on there, nobody can really tell us at the moment, but it'll be fascinating to see how this develops. Well, Johnny Cecotto doing his championship chances no end of good here as he goes on to the final lap in the lead at Zweibrucken. Johnny Cecotto leading then around this final lap at Zweibrucken. There he is. He's got 0.8 of a second advantage over the next man up, and that's Joe Winkelhock. And this is really such an upset to the form book that I'm not quite sure how we're going to go about explaining this. Replay of an earlier incident with Christian Menzel. A little bit of an irrelevance there, I'm afraid, in terms of BMW's overall strategy. Menzel down in 13th, battling there with Frank Biele and Emanuele Pirro in their 2 Audis. But this is what it's all about. Cecotto, the points leader. Now, Wunstorf and Zweibrucken, two airfield circuits. They'll suit the high speeds of the Peugeots, the high speeds of the Opels. They're races for BMW to survive. Cecotto came away from Wunstorf with an added points advantage, and he wins the sprint here at Zweibrucken. BMW are really working hard here. Johnny Cecotto and Joe Winkelhock gained BMW's first 1-2 of the season at a circuit that absolutely should not suit their cars. In third place on the road, but subject to a stop-and-go penalty that he did not take, as Uwe Altzen expect him to be disqualified. Therefore, third place points very probably, I say very probably, should go to Laurent Aiello, the reigning champion, which means, of course, that Aiello does not close on Cecotto. He rather is dropped away a fraction behind the Venezuelan. So the man from Caracas, there he is, Johnny Cecotto, winning the sprint here at Zweibrucken in quite impressive style. Joe Winkelhock from third on the grid, just launching the BMW 320i into the lead. Cecotto going into the first corner in third place from fifth on the grid. And then the tyres on Joe Winkelhock's car very obviously going off there towards the end, forcing him to allow his teammate to go by. So Cecotto wins by a second from Winkelhock. Altzen third on the road, Aiello fourth, but should be the third man on the podium. Behind them, Gabriele Tarquini for Honda. Manuel Reuter, the best of the Opels, should probably take fifth, I think, after Altzen's penalties. And then in sixth place and seventh place, respectively, will be Asch and Krum in the two Nissan Primeros. Ellery from 18th on the grid, 9th across the line, that should convert to 8th. Bergstaller from 19th on the grid, only did 3 laps in qualifying to save his tyres for the race, and that seems to have paid off because he's gone up to 9th place finish ahead of Modena, Bartels in the second Peugeot, Menzel's BMW, Bieler and Pirro in their Audis, Niedzwitz, and so on down the order. So there you go. That is the result of the sprint, not the one that we're seeing, I'm afraid. I don't think Aiello won it. That looks rather suspiciously like a completely duff graphic. I would completely ignore that. The live timing screens at Zweibrucken show Johnny Cecotto as the winner, as did the photo pictures. Here is Uwe Altzen, very hot and sweaty, and I would think completely unimpressed with this morning's activities. He was unimpressed after qualifying. He couldn't go for his final run for a shot on the grid because of an engine management problem, and the hot and sweaty Altzen will be, I think, a little bit hotter and sweatier once they have sorted out what exactly happened. There you go. You can see the body language there. Not impressed. I'm off. You can do whatever you like to the car. I'm off. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's not off to the clerk of the course's office fairly soon. So let's look again at the start. This is the vital moment. The two Opels from the front of the grid moving together to shut out Winkelhock. Tough luck, guys. Winkelhock knew that was going to happen, didn't he? You could see right from the word go, he was launching across from his right-hand side starting position to the left to go for the inside line into the first corner. And all the Opel strategy to keep him from going between them, all to naught. In fact, what happened was Altzen opened up a gap. Now, here we go. This is Uwe Altzen. On the left-hand side of the picture, this is not during the race, this is on the warm-up lap, passing everybody to get back into his grid position. There can be only one significance for seeing that picture, that is the reason for the stop-and-go penalty. Now, I think we do have here the result of the sprint, but Uwe Altzen, stop-and-go penalty. Did you see him stop or go? No, me neither, which means that he will be, I'm sure, disqualified from third place there. So Johnny Cecotto winning from Winkelhock and Aiello. Cecotto will take his championship lead now into the main race, and we have seen here that BMW is certainly not in tyre trouble in the 18-lap sprint. What about the 36-lap main event? We'll find out this evening on Eurosport how it all goes down. More live motorsport, of course, all Sunday, but join me later on this evening for the main event.